this is me. I'm out here searching for the perfect chess video. I'm searching high, I'm searching low. Maybe you can guess where I am and what the game I'm searching for really is. But that's for a future video. Today, let's talk about the Hikaru Nakamura Immortal. Do you like sacrifices? Do you like chess moves that defy all logic, yet somehow still miraculously work? Do you like true chess beauty? Then this is the game for you. Our game today is played with the imagination and creativity of the romantic era of chess in the 1800s, but played with the precision and accuracy of the computer age. For 5 moves in a row, Nakamura does something that most chess players will struggle to do even once. Who played this game? With the black pieces, we have the hero of the story, Hikaru Nakamura, the current Fischer Random World Champion, and more importantly maybe, the unofficial World Chess Champion of streaming. In 2023, Nakamura found his queen when he married fellow chess player Atusa Burkashian. Sorry for butchering the pronunciation. In 2010, Hikaru faced Boris Gelfand, one of the world's leading players. Gelfand would win the candidates tournament and play for the World Championship just a year after our game. So even though Nakamura may make chess look easy with his logic-defying magic in this game, please understand that he was playing against absolute world-class opposition here, which really makes the game even more brilliant. And do you know what else is brilliant? Our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Brilliant.org. And since this is a product that I use myself, I thought why not just show you what I use it for. So you know that my whole thing is learning while being supremely relaxed. And I use Brilliant for that, to just kick back and learn cool stuff. And I can see they're recommending this new lesson for me about scientific thinking. So let's check that out for a minute. In a pair of joint gears, if one rotates clockwise, then the other has to rotate counterclockwise, right? To see this rule in action, move the entire gear system by dragging the yellow circle around. See, this is what I love about Brilliant, right? They don't just tell you, they show you. And it's so intuitive. And Brilliant has so many things they can teach you. I've learned about programming, I've learned about logic, and all their lessons are beautiful, they are intuitive, they're visual, and I give them my warmest recommendations. I really do. If you want to learn stuff yourself like this, I have a link in the description. It gives you Brilliant for free for a full 30 days. So it's just brilliant.org/ASMRchess. And there's also extra bonus that the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscriptions. So yeah, thanks so much to Brilliant for believing in this channel and sponsoring my content. D4 by Boris. Gelfand. Directly attacking the center. Knight to F6 by Nakamura, indirectly attacking the center. Pawn to C4. We have seen this before. A very standard way of handling the opening by Boris Gelfand. Now we see a Hikaru Nakamura specialty. Pawn to G6. This opening can become many things. It could become a Grünfeld, but it's not going to. It's going to become a King's Indian. Knight to C3 by Gelfand, challenging the E4 square that is currently contested by the knight. Pawn to D5 would be the Grünfeld defense. Bishop to G7 instead, saying I'm not going to play pawn to D5, I'm not going to stop you playing pawn to E4. So there you go, Boris. Play pawn to E4, defended by the pawn. Now, this pawn here and this pawn mass in the center must be stopped in advancing further into black's side of the board. And therefore we see pawn to D6, saying I now control E5. And here at the start of the game, this over here is black's side of the board, and conversely over here we have white's side of the board, and that is going to change. Nakamura is a specialist in the King's Indian opening, and that is all about drawing a new and exciting map of the battlefield. We will see that unfold over the next 15 moves. Gelfand is very pleased. He plays knight to F3, saying, oh, please, give me. I love to just eat all the nice space advantage you are giving me, only playing on the 6th rank here, while he is playing all the way to the 5th rank. Nakamura's very calm, and he castles. This is all known theory, and it looks quite defensive, but it's not. He's actually hoping to go in for a big attack. After black castles, we see bishop to E2. When I play against the King's Indian, I play it in a very similar way, but I delay putting the knight out here on F3, and then I try to be aggressive with pawn to H4 to H5, backed up by this bishop and this queen, trying to knock a hole in black's castle. We're not going to see that. We're going to see a wildly different plan, and I must admit, a much better plan by Boris Gelfand. Nakamura plays pawn to E5. Gelfand castles, and Hikaru develops his knight to C6. Now both this knight and this pawn are attacking here on D4. So pawn to D5, chasing this knight away and taking even more space. And I'm okay with Boris Gelfand understanding these positions better than I do. He is, after all, a super grandmaster. Knight to E7 by Nakamura. But these positions here, where we draw up the battle draw up the map of the battlefield in a very particular way is very hard to play. And a guy like Nakamura only needs a small mistake to really go all in after your king. Nakamura plays a lot of poker, maybe that's why he's so good at going all in at the chessboard as well. We see this knight moving backwards. Now we also see this knight moving backwards with knight to d2. And if that's not enough, we see this knight moving backwards with knight to e8. So what is all that about? That looks so weird. Are these really geniuses playing these moves? Oh yes, it is. And they are not freestyling. This has been studied for a long time. We know that these are recommended moves. What is it about? It's about the map of the battlefield. What am I talking about with that map all the time? Well, we know that the pawns, they are slow and they can get stuck. And you can imagine that this is a mountain formation here. It's very hard to cross. And that is Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War that he who chooses the battlefield wins the war, or something like that. And if you understand the map of the battlefield and you understand how to play with the terrain, not against the terrain, you will have a tremendous advantage. And that's why these knights are all moving backwards, because they want the f-pawns here to be mobile so they can be launched forward in the battle for position. And it continues. We see pawn to b4, making ready for pushing further with pawn to c5. And on the other side we see Nakamura strike with pawn to f5. This pawn will need to be protected at some point. We probably do not want to allow captures and then recapture with one of the knights in an awkward way. But we do have time to play the Zwischenzug. That means in between move in German. Pawn to c5, claiming even more space on the queen side here. Now the knight goes back to f6 because it had allowed this pawn to go to f5, and now it's attacking on e5. And now it could be awkward if pawn takes pawn, knight on d takes, knight on f takes, and knight on c takes. That's not really what Gelfand wants in this position, so he plays pawn to f3, so he can recapture with the pawn if that happens. But Nakamura is not going to allow that. Instead, and this is where it really gets interesting, the fireworks haven't begun yet at all, but you will see some absolutely beautiful moves. Pawn to f4 now. Look at this pawn chain here, this formation of mountains dividing two halves here of the chessboard. And this king is on this half. And maybe it will be hard for these pieces to come to his aid. Knight to c4 by Gelfand, taking a tremendous amount of space over here. His pieces can roam almost completely uninhibited in this entire section of the board. And if Nakamura is not very precise and very imaginative, these pieces will crash through here, and they are able to coordinate much better than black's pieces, because black's pieces are cramped. Can you see they have very limited mobility, so they cannot organize themselves in the most efficient way, which white's pieces can do. G5, A4, and knight to G6. And here, bishop, the last light piece, we call these pieces the light pieces and these the heavy piece, to get deployed to the battlefield. What is this move about? Well, you could say maybe it looks from the game that it's indirectly attacking this rook. It very much looks like that because Nakamura plays rook to f7. So it looks like after pawn to b5 and d takes c, bishop takes c5, that Nakamura was using prophylaxis, that is in chess, moving out of the threat before the threat materializes on the board. And on some level that was what he was doing. But this move is much, much deeper than that. Watch out for this rook. It will play a major, major role. Now the bishop is activated, doing much more than it did on c1. And at some point maybe a rook can come to the c file and attack c7. h5. Can you feel the pressure mounting? a5. g4, now supported by the pawn. And even pawn to b6 by white here. Will Nakamura react? Will he capture with the a pawn? Will he capture with the c pawn? No. His focus is on the king side. He is really trying his very best. He's using all his genius here to divert the attention away from the king side. Oh yes, let's get away. All the little pieces, get away from the king here, so I can attack. Pawn to g3. And here it could be tempting, if you don't know the king's Indian opening, if you don't know how Nakamura plays this, to say, oh, I'm not going to capture that with my pawn and open up lines to my king. I'm just going to push that, and now this can't move, this can't move. How are you ever going to get through now? Well, this loses immediately. That's why Gelfand did not play this move, because this bishop can just snipe this pawn. This didn't happen in the game, but it surely would have happened, because even with this sacrifice being down material, black is winning. Pawn takes bishop. Now we just need to teleport the queen here for checkmate. Now teleportation is not allowed in standard chess, so how about just going to c7 so we can come in and capture here? You could say, oh, that's no problem, I'm going to defend that with my king to g2. The problem is knight check on h4, king goes back, the queen comes in, and there is simply no way of defending checkmate. So let's reset the board like so. And that is why king to h1 paradoxically is the best move. Now you cannot capture this pawn with a check, so if you just try to capture this pawn, I don't need as white to do anything about it. Actually, this pawn is an excellent shield for my king, since you can never capture it. And if you capture here, I'm coming here with my knight. And how are you protecting this square? Even if you go forward, I'm jumping in. You'll have to sacrifice the exchange. But Nakamura knows this opening here, the king's Indian. He knows that better than anyone. He's like Peter Swittler with the Grünfeld. That's Nakamura with the king's Indian. And he plays this move here. Bishop back to its starting square. These are not easy moves to find. Now you don't have time to come in with the knight, even though that's your plan, because I'm going to capture your bishop. If you capture my bishop, I'm going to recapture with the queen, getting closer to the king. So what does Gelfand do? And why is this move even more clever than all of what I just said? Let's take a look. Pawn to d6. Pawn to d6. Now, of course, I cannot jump over here. I cannot capture here. And maybe I should try to capture here, but it's not very ambitious because it will turn the attention of our pieces as black here to the area of the board where white has the advantage without this space. So instead, pawn on A takes pawn on B. Now, that is very, very clever. It utilizes this rook even though it hasn't moved, because I cannot recapture here. We would see rook takes rook, queen takes rook, and now this pawn will fall, because when the queen is no longer on d1, it is no longer defending. And here, the best move is very, very paradoxical, but it was found by Gelfand. It is bishop all the way back to g1. Protect the king, and protects h2. Knight, look at this, to h4, getting closer to the king, but how will we break 3? And why do we see rook to e1? Rook to e1 is about bishop coming to f1, so that we will not see anything dangerous landing on g2. Are we in time? No. Knight takes on g2, the first in a series of absolutely stellar, brilliant, creative moves that make sure that this game is immortal. The correct move here is to play king takes knight, and there will be a tremendous attack against the king, but white can take the material and fight on. It's not clear, even with modern computer analysis, if white is winning or if black is winning after king takes knight. But Gelfand got a little too smart for his own good here, and he played d takes c7. It looks like such a brilliant move because it deflects the queen. Now the queen will have to capture the pawn, or it will be taken, and then it will be further away. It will be hard to join the fray, because it would like this knight to move, and it would like to come in here and go for checkmate, some checkmating attack, also coordinating with the rook. But here the fireworks really begin. What move would you play? would you move the queen? That's a loaded question. For some time now, in the coming number of moves, refused to move that queen to any square where it was not attacked. You have maybe heard that you should have your queen on squares that are not attacked by your opponent. No. If you are Hikaru Nakamura, you can break the rules. Knight takes rook on e1. So why not pawn takes queen, making a new queen? Why not? Because pawn to g2 defended by the knight would be checkmate. Okay, so we are not going to see that. We are not going to see that. What are we going to see? Just queen takes knight, renewing the threat of pawn takes queen. So are we going to move it? We know. Not right now. No. But then what? Then what? Can you find another brilliant move here? Let's sacrifice some more material. Pawn to g2. This makes the game very easy for white because there is a single legal move, which is king takes g2. What is the follow-up? Do you remember I was being a little mysterious about this bishop earlier? What was the subtle point of it coming here, except for or in addition to challenging the dark squared bishop up here and making it move back? It is no longer blocking g7. So rook g7 check. So where are you going? I can tell you you're not going to f2, because we would then see check and checkmate with the bishops like this. This checkmate pattern is called Boden's mate. So that is not on. Therefore, king back to the corner again to h1. Now do we move the queen? Is it time to move the queen? No. No. Let's not move the queen. Let's do something more awesome. Let the fireworks continue with bishop to h3. Because with the rook on g7, a bishop coming here would be checkmate again. So still no time to take the queen. But how do we defend against this checkmate? There is, and that is why the rook vacated f1 earlier. The bishop can go to f1, where it came from, to defend. Is it now time to move the queen? I may be tricking you, because actually yes. But what's the rule? We are not going to move it anywhere where it isn't attacked. So how about this move by Nakamura? It must have felt pretty good to do this. Queen d3. It is on d3 for free. Not for free, because bishop could take the queen, but there is a reason the bishop is here, to defend g2, so we would see checkmate again. Okay. And what is the queen really doing here? Well, this centralizing queen move, to put it short, wins the game. It threatens everything. It threatens this knight, this pawn, and this bishop. If black is to move again, we would simply just play queen takes pawn on f3. There's only one move, block with the bishop, and we would then capture the bishop. I can show you. Checkmate. So what can we do about that? And here Gelfand found a very, very tricky move. Knight takes pawn on e5, simultaneously attacking the queen again and looking after the pawn on f3. Look at this position. Like so much is going on this. The queen is attacked by two different minor pieces. There is this pawn that may at any moment become a queen. There is this king here with this diagonal. There's this rook attacking down here, the bishop, the pawn here just cramping White's development. It's just absolutely beautiful. And Nakamura played not moving the queen, of course not. Bishop takes bishop on f1. Because now we could go back for checkmate again. But now we can capture this with the queen. Queen takes f1. So now the queen is looking after both this pawn and here. And what's the point of all of this? After all this, and this is one of the hardest thing to do in chess, one that I know I myself really need to work on, is to look at the whole board and to not say, okay, I've been going for a checkmate attack all this time, so I must continue. You could also say, okay, is there any other way to win the game? And here, actually pretty simply, he took the knight. Queen takes c3. Because if we do a little count here, we can see, can you see the pieces? I'll put them up here. Rook, knight, bishop, and 3 pawns is the deficit for white. And black has also lost 3 pawns. Black hasn't lost one more. Black has also lost a bishop, and black has lost a knight. But black has not lost a rook. So black is up almost a full rook here, a rook for a pawn. Gelfand did not resign. He said, well, I have my pawn here, and that pawn is very good, it can become a queen. So he sacrificed back, he played rook c1, attacking the queen. The queen took another knight. But what was the point of that? Now, we promote this pawn with pawn to c8 equals queen. Let me get a queen for you. Here. I have a queen now. Of course, if that is allowed to stay, then white is winning. So rook takes queen on c8, and rook takes rook on c8. And here, cool as a cucumber, Nakamura played queen to e6, attacking the rook. The game could have continued, and I can show you how it could have continued. But Gelfand actually resigned here. He extended his hand and said something like, I resign, and maybe they had a little chat afterwards about what had just taken place. One of the true beauties of modern chess history. The rook is attacked. If you move it somewhere sensible, like going back. We can just play b takes here. And now these 2 pawns are unopposed. They can come support each other, try to make a new queen. The king is still not really defended at all. Black's king is still very safe, and let's not forget that black is up a knight in addition to these 2 passed pawns. So how could the game conclude from here? Let's say you try to get aggressive with the queen. This is just an example to show that black's attack is raging on. Let's say you try something like this. You say, okay, I'm going to attack this guy, I'm going to attack this guy, and can I maybe get counterplay? No, because all of black's pieces are so excellently positioned that there are many sacrifices that can blow up the last remaining part of white's defenses. How would you win here? Knight takes e4, f takes e4. It's just a simple line to show how dire the situation really is, and queen takes e4, and that is checkmate. And that was how we got the Hikaru Nakamura Immortal. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.